Hi, I'm Joe James, and in this video I'm going to explain percentages, how to convert back and forth from percentages to fractions and percentages to decimals, and I'll walk through a few sample problems. A percent just means per 100. So you can see the word CENT is from century. It's the same root as the word century, which means 100. So percent really just means per 100. How do we convert from percent to a fraction? It's pretty easy. You just put the percent over 100 and reduce. So here we have 25%. We're going to take away the percentage sign, put the 25 over 100 and reduce that. Both top and bottom are divisible by 25, so this one reduces to a quarter. How do we convert from a fraction to a percent? Well, you cross multiply with 100 and divide. So let's show you an example here. Here we have 4/5, and we're going to put 100 on the bottom again. 4/5 is equal to some number over 100. We use cross multiplication. 4 times 100, we divide by the 5, and we get 80. So question mark is equal to 80 after we work out this math. So we have 80%. 4/5 is equal to 80%. Now we'll convert percent to a decimal. This is really easy. You just move the decimal 2 places to the left. So 35%, we could say, is 35.0%, just to insert a decimal place so you can see it. And then we walk that decimal place 2 spots to the left and take away the percent sign. 0.35. So 35% is equal to 0.35. And decimal to percent is exactly the opposite of percent to decimal. You move the decimal place 2 places to the right. So here we have 0.58. That's equal to 58% because we simply move this decimal place 2 spots to the right. Now let's look at some sample problems. Here's an easy one. Find 21% of 300. Now there are a couple of different ways to solve this, and I'll show you 2 of them. So 21 over 100 is what 21% means. It means 21 over 100. So we converted this 21% to a fraction by just putting it over 100, as we just demonstrated before. And then we multiply that by 300. So 21% of 300 means 21% times 300. Those 2 zeros cancel each other out, and we get 21 over 1 times 3. In other words, 3 times 21. That equals 63. I can do that in my head. Another way to solve this is to convert the 21% to a decimal, 0.21, multiply that by 300, and you get the same answer. This one just uses a decimal instead of a fraction. I think the fraction is a little simpler to do in your head because you cancel out the zeros and just get 21 times 3. Anyway, 2 different ways to solve that easy problem. Let's look at another sample problem. If 70% of z is 56, find z. Normally when we get a problem like this, what we want to do is take what we're given and write it out as an equation. So 70% means 70 over 100, right? That's the fraction version of 70%. So 70% times z, which is 70% of z, is equal to, is 56. And now we have to find z, which means solve this equation for z. Well, we can see what we have to do. We have to get rid of this 70 over 100 term, and then we'll have a z equals form. So if we can get rid of this 70 over 100, we divide both sides by 70 over 100, or we could multiply both sides by 100 over 70, the reciprocal. That's how you divide by a fraction. You can multiply by the reciprocal, and it's the same thing. So in this case, we're just going to multiply both sides by 100 over 70, and we get this. This is our new equation, right? We just inserted 100 over 70 on both sides here and here. And you can see that all this cancels each other out. The 100s and the 70s cancel each other out, which was our goal, so that we just have z on the left, and then we have some multiplication problem on the right. So let's get rid of all that jazz, get rid of this stuff on the bottom here. Now we have to solve for z, where z equals 56 times 100 over 70. Well, this is easy to do in your head. Look, the zeros, you can cancel 1 0 out from the top and bottom. 56 divided by 7 is 8, and then you multiply that by 10 and you get 80. So z is equal to 80. And if you don't see how to do that in your head, you can just punch it all into a calculator. You're going to get z equals 80. So 70% of z is 56, z is equal to 80. So let's look at a third sample problem that's a little more complex. I have Y dollars. On day 1, I make 25%. On day 2, I lose 10%, and I end up with $45. How much should I start with? In other words, how much is Y? So again, the first thing we want to do is spell out in an equation format the data that we're given. I have Y dollars, and on day 1, I make 25%. That means that I got to keep the whole amount of Y that I already had, plus I got 25% on top of that. So we say 1.25. If we only put 0.25, that means that we lost 3/4 of our money already. So 1.25 means that we got to keep our whole 100%, plus we made 25% more. So Y times 1.25 tells you that on day 1 I made 25%. Now on day 2, I lose 10%. So to put that into an equation format, we say this whole amount we're going to put inside parentheses. That's the result of day 1. The resulting amount that's left over after day 1 is Y times 1.25. Now we have to treat this as one amount, and we put it inside of parentheses. And then on day 2, I lose 10%. That's the same thing as saying that I get to keep 90% of what I have. In other words, if I have $100 and I lose 10%, I end up with $90. But that's the same thing as saying that I get to keep 90% of my $100. Day 1's total times 0.9 means that I lost 10%. And I end up with $45. So that amount is equal to $45. How much did I start with? Now we need to solve for Y. So the first thing we do is just divide by 0.9, both sides. This one cancels out, and we get a $45 divided by 0.9 here. And the second thing we need to do is divide by 1.25 to get rid of this term. Then we get Y equals 45 divided by 0.9 times 1.25. We multiply that out, we get $40. That means we started with $40. So in these multi-day problems, or problems where you're going to apply percentage to the result of another percent, I recommend you use parentheses around each successive result so that you don't get anything confused. That concludes this video on percentages. I hope this was helpful for you. If so, please click the like and subscribe to my channel. I'm Joe James. Thanks for watching.